Alright everyone, welcome back to a new video. Now before we get to the topic, I want to introduce my free trading Discord. The link to this will be the top comment below. Come and join my Discord, and now let's get to the topic. Alright everyone, so I have my chart here open, and today we're going to be talking about reversals and how you can spot reversals early. Now this is an important skill to have because that will ultimately give you a better entry when you capitalize that reversal. So if someone doesn't know what a reversal is, basically a reversal is when price is going to a direction and then it suddenly, it almost like hits a wall and then it just changes course to the opposite direction. And this can also happen to the downside. So for example, price is going downwards all morning, and then something happens at noon and suddenly price starts to go upwards, and this is a classic reversal. And reversals happen quite often, not every day necessarily, but they happen often enough that I think it's quite important to really analyze how you can perfect your own entries around a reversal, and this video is exactly for that. So if you didn't watch my last video, actually, I highly recommend that you go watch that one before you watch this. This is kind of the second part of that video. Now, this is a standalone video, so you don't have to go and watch that. You can still understand everything I show in this video without watching that one, but I still recommend you go watch that one. So this is my price action cumulative delta chart, and today we're going to be looking at 3 different reversals, and as always, I try to use the most recent and relevant dates in my examples here on the videos I make. I don't like to nitpick too much. I like to use the most recent examples, and I have found 3 quite recent and relevant reversals that have happened on the markets, which we will go through in this video. So these are not perfect examples, but these are the most recent ones, which is exactly what I like to do in my videos. So this will be the date we first look at, and you can see that it's the 4th day, and right now we're at the 18th, so still quite recent, and we're only going to be going forward from this, and we'll be looking at this point here exactly, and the line here is representing market open, so 9:30. So this happened after market open, which is the second factor I like to use. So any kind of examples that happen overnight, I typically don't like to use in my videos because I don't trade at that time. So you gotta practice what you preach. And I think most people trade the market open. So that's what we're going to talk about and focus on. Typically, in every reversal that happens, there are 3 different things which happen almost always, which is how you recognize that it is a reversal. And the first one is that price simply fails to push through a key level. This is we can say that it's a level of resistance, right? I don't like to use that term, but so we can say that this part here where price ultimately stops is probably some key level, and I don't really want to get into what key levels are on this video. I'll do that another time, but to give a kind of a short example, you have these key levels all over, and price can either stop and change course or go through. And in this case, we can say that it stopped and reversed. So this is a classic reversal that happened on the regular trading hours. And the second thing you need to understand when you are thinking about reversals and when they might happen, so you have your kind of context for the day, and you have recognized that this might be a key level, which you need to look at very closely. And if you are suspecting that a reversal might happen on that day, your other charts need to agree with that theory. So What I mean by that is that we don't suspect reversals to happen in random places. So typically there's going to be a specific price point where a reversal happens. And these are the key levels again. So you need to have those key levels already in your mind so that once price comes there, right, price is coming up, and then you can look at the charts for a possible reversal, being the footprint chart and the cumulative delta. We'll also look at the footprint chart in this video. And the third thing which you typically see in reversals is heavy absorption. You know, we can say, I can pretty comfortably say that this happens every time, right? Every time there's a reversal, there's heavy absorption. And now that I've given some general ideas that we look at when we talk about reversals, let's actually go into this and see what happened that day. All right, so we now have the footprint chart and the overall price action chart here side by side. And the left one here we'll use for the context, and the right one we'll use to analyze price action. So we're just going to go to the very peak here on the footprint chart so we can actually analyze what's happening on the price levels. And while we're doing that, I want to explain that oftentimes when price is starting to reverse, you're not going to know that in the moment. So with all trading, you kind of just have to trust the system you're using. So it's not going to be 100% guarantee that price is going to reverse. But when you see things on the footprint chart here, for example, or the cumulative delta chart, and you have your overall context of a possible reversal happening, that might be a part of your strategy telling you that a reversal is very likely to happen at this key level. And once you see the signs of that happening, you need to enter, but you don't have to enter with your full size. We can see that we are right at the top here. So this is where the reversal actually happens. And if we look at this, price action here on the footprint, we can say that this is maybe a bit too early to enter still. But if we go down just a bit more, we can see that the delta here on the footprints is really starting to stack up, and we get the confirmation that price is and will go downwards. So if you missed the initial entry here, you can still enter later on. But the point I'm making here is that if you did enter here, you likely didn't go in with your full size. And then when you get the confirmation from the delta just a few moments later, then you can go in with your full size, and that way you have minimized your risk. So let's look at what's happening here. And the biggest thing we can actually see on the footprint charts when it comes to these reversals is absorption. And what do I mean by that is that we can see very heavy buying, right? This is heavy buying. Okay, and then we have this here. All right, so logically we can think that if we have this heavy buying right here at the top, how come price didn't go up? Okay, and this is classic absorption, which happens every time price reverses. And the reason for that is that the passive sellers who are in these price levels here, right, they are in these price levels, they are stacking up the limit orders so high that the people who are buying the market can't clear the levels. Okay, there's so much supply in these regions that the passive sellers are simply absorbing all the people who are buying, and this is what causes price to reverse. And all the people who bought the market at this very top here now suddenly become trapped. These are now trapped buyers. We can use this for our advantage. So let's say we take our trade here, and we can very quickly here see that price starts to go against these people who bought the market here. And once it goes down enough, let's say to this region here, we can say that those buyers are going to be quite nervous, and they're going to exit the market, which is going to be on the sell side here, and that will ultimately push price downwards more. So using these trapped buyers here is a very good way to assure that we will be making some profits. And also, if we look at the overall context here, I don't know how well you can see, but we can see that in the previous day, so the context for the previous day, this is the overnight here, okay? And we can see that price dropped all overnight, right? And then it did a huge reversal here at the bottom. I didn't want to use this example because this is happening on the overnight session. We can say that the people who are selling the market overnight are quite exhausted. So price is, in a way, doing a delta reset, and we can actually see this on the cumulative delta. So if you haven't seen my cumulative delta video, go and watch that one. There's nothing like that on YouTube. It's an hour-long video, a full in-depth guide on how to use the cumulative delta, and completely free, by the way. We can see that basically in the overnight session, cumulative delta is negative all the way, and when price is coming upwards, and this can also be part of your strategy, when price is coming upwards in this case, and one of the things about the delta reset which I talked about is that price doesn't move too far from the zero line, and we could say that this move here, right, this huge move is just a delta reset, okay? And you can use that to your advantage, okay? So if you are here, right, you are at the very top here looking at price action, and you can see that we have gone positive on the cumulative delta. As soon as you see price drop to the negative here, this is a huge confirmation that this was just a delta reset, and price will indeed drop much further because it makes sense, okay? We have the sellers who are exhausted, they need a reset, the cumulative delta comes to zero, and then it goes down straight from there. The third thing here is that we have this consolidation period right here. Let's actually go to that on the footprint. So this is the consolidation period right here. I'm just going to make this, let's do that so you can see better, okay? So we have price going sideways for about an hour, okay? And these are the buyers who are trying to hold on. And what's interesting about this one is that the cumulative delta never goes positive. So although we have strong buyers who are coming in, so if you entered short here, you don't actually need to be too alarmed, because we can see that the buyers aren't able to push cumulative delta to the positive, right? And what happens to these buyers here again is that they become trapped. And when price again starts to go downwards, all the people who bought in this region here, they have to exit, okay? These buyers from here are all trapped, and this in turn will push price downwards more, guaranteeing you more profits, okay? So those are some of the things which we look at when we are looking at reversals, and that was the first example. Now let's go to the second one. All right, so this is the second example. So this is the 7th day here, and we'll be looking at this region right here, and again we have the RTH there. We can see that price is dropping, and then at around 12 it goes up from there. And if we just look at the footprint here, we can see that this is the lowest point here, okay? So this is where the, I like to call this a double drop, and this is another thing you can look at. Price makes these two drops in this case. This can also work on the upside, so double high, I guess, I don't know. And I don't like to coin these terms, but I just came up with them when I was making the video. So again, the clearest example of a reversal is when we have heavy absorption, and the same comes to this exact example here. We have lots and lots of selling, right? Lots and lots of selling again. And then we have this huge red delta here, and price just completely ignores all that and goes up. And again, the sellers simply weren't able to break the level, but something very interesting happens in this example that didn't happen on the other one, is that we can see here on the bigger chart already, but if we go to the footprint, we can see that price comes down to test the same region once again. So this is obviously going to be a key level. It's somewhere in here. You know, we don't know exactly what price level it is, and typically key levels aren't specific price levels, but it is a kind of region of price. So it could be, you know, 4 points or 3 points or whatever. And this is the key level kind of region. And again, as we saw before, right, we have huge selling, which price simply ignores and goes to the other direction. A classic case of absorption. Very classic case of absorption, exactly what we saw on the other example. And also an interesting thing here on the cumulative delta is that at the point of reversal, we are at negative 16,000, okay? So keep in mind the context of the day. We can see that people have been selling all day and all night, okay, probably. And we can be quite sure that at this point here, they are starting to be quite exhausted. At some point, it has to happen. Price doesn't just go downwards forever. Sometimes it has to go up, and it's important to keep that in mind. So when you have a very negative cumulative delta in this case, this is a sign that the sellers might be quite exhausted, and so they might not be able to fight back a reversal. And this is what we see on the footprint here. You know, people are selling the market, right? But price is ignoring that, right? We have more sellers coming in, price just keeps going up. You know, we have some heavy selling here. You can see 591. That's a lot of selling, but price is just ignoring that, right? So the sellers don't have enough strength to fight back the buyers. And we can see that price goes to way high, okay? So that's the second example. Now let's look at the last one and finish this video. And the last one is the 10th. You can see right here, it's the 10th day. And the same with the last example, we have the double drop again. Price comes down, right? Tries to go up, fails, comes in for the retest, stops, and reversal, okay? Classic double drop. If you entered here, right, and price is coming down, you know, you're on the minus, you might want to exit early and wait to see how price reacts to the same level again, okay? This is a classic thing that happens. Price wants to retest. It wants to go and see the same level again. And I actually wrote down unfinished business because I was thinking about it. I was looking at this and I thought, why wouldn't price just go up straight away, right? Why do the sellers have to bring it down here again if they are going to fail, right? Ultimately, they failed. So why would they want to bring it down again? It's unfinished business. There's something in their mind is telling them that they just have to bring it down again, you know, and I think it's important to keep that in mind. So if you entered on the first try and price is coming down, try to keep that in mind, that phrase, unfinished business. Sellers just have some unfinished business which they have to resolve here on the second drop. So let's look at that on the footprint. And this is again the lowest point. And we can see this one is even more clear. This is probably the most clearest example here. We can see really, really, really crazy selling coming in. Like really, really strong. Even like if you look at the delta here, this is crazy. But price just doesn't move down. It just doesn't go down. Completely ignores all that and goes up. And if we go to the second place here, the second drop, where the sellers make their last stand and fail. So we can see that the same thing happens again. I'm sure you're getting kind of tired of this now, hearing the same thing being repeated over and over again. But I really want to bring this point home. This is what you will see at the key levels if price is about to reverse. You will see heavy volume and aggression on this other side, but price ignores it. Okay, this is your initial confirmation to enter. Okay, because the people who sold the market here, when price is going up, right, it starts to go upwards immediately. All the people who are selling become trapped, and at some point they have to exit the market. And we can also see here on the second drop, if we look at the cumulative delta here, we can see that the sellers can't really bring the cumulative delta down. The sellers simply can't hold the buyers back anymore. And we can see that exact moment here when the sellers lose the battle and price reverses. Okay, so I really hope you found this video useful. There's a lot more I could say about this topic, and if you have any questions about this subject and trading in general, come and join my free trading Discord, and I'll see you guys in the next one.